Hey everyone, today I wanted to share the process and my journey of creating an app from scratch. This video is going to be more casual, maybe a little vlog style, and I'm going to walk through the entire process from the initial idea to the final product. And the main thing here is that I'm going to talk about my exact process of how I went to being someone who never developed an app before to building an app that got 250 beta signups from day one. So, first thing you obviously have to do is start with an idea. The inspiration for my app came from a personal need. I wanted a way to organize my app idea, video concepts, and goals, and structure in a way that existing Note apps could not offer. I needed a tool that allowed me to capture ideas quickly, to categorize them, and to track my progress. So I decided to build it myself. Now, the way I came up with this idea was not through some elaborate brainstorming session. All I had to do was think about what is a problem that I have that I would like to have solved. It was as simple as that. I wrote down a list of different problems that I had, and once I had that list all written down, I went through each one and was like, okay, yes, this is definitely a problem that I would like to have solved, but let's go look up on the internet and see if anyone else has this problem. So I took each idea, I searched on Reddit mostly, but also Google. I went through the different posts and saw, oh, this idea, a lot of people are asking for this. For example, for my idea, a lot of people were asking for an alternative to Apple Notes for quick jotting notes. And so I was like, this is a good idea. So that's what you need to do. You need to list out the ideas that come from different problems you have, and then make sure that there's other people that have this problem by searching on the internet. And by doing that, you'll see which ideas have the most traction and most people want and have a use for. And so that's a great way to come up with the idea. Now, the second step here is learning design with Figma. Now, you don't have to use Figma, but what I would recommend is definitely designing your UI first. There's a lot of people who say just start getting coding. Don't worry about the UI at first, you can work on the UI later, but I completely disagree with him. I think the first thing you need to do is think about how your UI is going to look. Now, before even going on Figma, I just recommend taking a pencil and paper and just sketching out how you think the app would look. Just by doing this, you'll realize what features are necessary and what features aren't. When you think about the app in your head, it's just this whole hodgepodge of different ideas. But when you have to actually put in, okay, this is what the user needs to see, this is what needs to be prominent, this is what's important in this app, the UI actually makes you think about what's important in the app. And that's why it's so important for you to design. Instead of going and paying a bunch of money for getting a guy to make some beautiful UI that it might not even be the way you envisioned, instead you should be the one making this. And even if you have no Figma experience, I had no Figma experience, you can still create something that looks great. And the way I did this was just simply looking at YouTube tutorials. All I needed was a few YouTube tutorials that told me how to do the basic things. And then I started building how I thought the app would look. And anytime I was like, oh, this doesn't look right, this looks a little ugly, I would go on Google, search up different UI designs, and try to imitate what I saw from other images and make it in my Figma. And so I can show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'll show you my Figma file right here. Alright guys, so this is my Figma file I just wanted to show you. As you can see, I have a bunch of different little concepts of how the UI was going to be. I have my Figma file. This is the original concepts I had for this app. As you can see, it's different than the actual app that I made in some ways, but this really helped me get the general idea of what I wanted to do. So instead of this progress bar right here, I ended up going with a nice animated wave here. But that doesn't really matter. Your Figma design doesn't need to be exactly how your app looks. It just wants to give you a general idea of how things are going to look. And you can see for the most part, a lot of the design is very similar to what I end up going with. Once you've done coming up with the UI, you have a great starting place for your app, but you need to actually code. You need to make it functional. And the mistake that I made on a previous app that I was trying to develop was that I was just like, well, I have coding experience. I don't really need to learn Swift UI. I don't really need to learn the language that I'm building in. I can just figure it out on the go and use ChatGPT and it'll help me. And the problem with that approach was that it worked for honestly a while. But then once things got so complicated and so convoluted because of the way ChatGPT codes, and every time I was developing a new feature, as the project got bigger, it got so much more complicated to figure out, and I really had no idea of how everything was interacting with each other because I didn't have a great concept of how SwiftUI worked. So what I would say is don't just start building right away. Whether you know coding or you don't, you should have a good foundation before you start using these AI tools, because it will make the development process a lot faster. So what I did is I went and found a SwiftUI tutorial. In my case, it was by this guy named Sean Allen, who's a great SwiftUI content creator. I'll link him below. But he had this 10-hour SwiftUI course, and I went through the course. It took me a week or two to go through the course and do all the projects that he said. But by the end of that 10-hour course, I was so much more ready to hit the ground running and start making an app. I understood the basics of SwiftUI. I understood how to make different UIs, how to make my Figma design into a SwiftUI reality, and I understood how to build an app. So then anytime I ran into an issue or something that I hadn't seen before, I could ask ChatGPT, but I was leading it to where it should go rather than ChatGPT leading me to what to do. That's a huge difference. You want to be the one in control, and ChatGPT is like your co-pilot, your assistant. You don't want it to be the opposite way around, because ChatGPT will get confused as your code base gets super large, and then you're kind of stuck. So I had this great foundation. I built these sample projects through the tutorials that I had, and then I just started building. I went from small to grand. I started with just making a few cards, like how the cards look, and then I built the entire home screen. Then I went to the settings page. Then I went to the tags page with the searching and all that stuff. And at each point, I tested, I iterated and made sure that each little small part worked, each module worked, and then I kept building and building, so that when this project became huge, and you can see how many files are in my Swift UI, it didn't become overwhelming. So overall, I would say make sure you watch a tutorial in whatever language you're building in, and do all the projects, have actual experience with it before you go on and create an actual app. That will make things so much easier further down the line. So this is my Xcode project. This is the application IdeaVault. I really want to focus on here the organization. Beforehand, when I wasn't looking at tutorials, this organization was a mess, but now you can see it's a lot more consistent. I have things in folders like utilities, screens, all in nice little folders, so that everything is organized and not all in one file, which makes it really complicated. I have a different folder for the widgets and everything, and every single widget has a new file so that everything's very organized. And you can see, yeah, even a smaller project like mine has a decent amount of files, but not all these files are very long. They're only a few hundred lines of code. It's just for more organization and everything. And to have a full functioning app like this and just, this many lines of code is not too bad. I promise you. It might seem like a lot now, but it just builds over time. And if you do it in an organized way, within a few months, you can have your own application. Then the final part is marketing the app. Now, I'm still learning about this because my app just came out in beta, and I'm definitely not the expert in marketing, but I will say I was able to get 250 signups on the first 24 hours of my beta being out. And the way that I did that was having done some preparation beforehand before I launched. I think the worst thing you can do is just come up with some random Reddit post it on Reddit, this is my app, and then expect to get a bunch of downloads. I did a lot of preparation so that when I did get something that went viral, I had a lot of information to make it not just a flash in the pan moment, but make it extend and longer. So for example, I built a landing page, which I recommend you would all do. And for my beta waitlist, I had just an email field. And whenever someone entered an email, it would subscribe them to a newsletter and keep track of all their emails. So not only could I add their emails to the beta waitlist, but now I had all these emails that I could use in a newsletter service, which would allow me to further communicate with people, get feedback about my app, and keep the users engaged. The worst thing you want to do is I have a viral post, a bunch of people sign up in my app, but now I have no way to communicate with them. I have no way to understand exactly what they're doing. So what you want to do is make sure that you have that engagement. So I could show you here. As you can see, I did some Reddit posts. It got to the top of iOS apps, And that was something that I was ready for, so that when people went to my website and they signed up for the beta test listers, I had everything set up. I created excitement by saying, oh, the first 25 will be guaranteed to be beta testers and get pro features. I had all these incentives and everything. And yeah, that's the third step, marketing the app. And these are the three things that are really the most important. I think a lot of developers get stuck on one of these things. Well, they'll be really good at developing, but their UI is not great and they're not great at marketing. And that's not going to lead to a successful app. You really have to have these three main skills: your design in Figma, learning how to design apps, make them look good, and it helps you develop your app in your mind and see what's important and what's not. Then write the code, learn the language that you're working in. Don't just start and assume that ChatGPT is going to solve all your problems. Make sure you have a good basics. And then finally, once you have developed it, learn how to market your app. Learn to use the good parts of your app, like your UI that looks beautiful, and be prepared for one of these posts to go viral. Sure, 99% of the posts that you post might not go viral, but when one of them goes viral, you need to be ready. You need to have a way to engage with subscribers, to keep all those emails, to make sure that this is not just a flash in the pan and after 2 days you get a bunch of signups but no engaged users and you're done. You need to have a way to be ready for when you get an influx of users signing up for your app. And so if you can master the marketing, the developing of the app, and the design, I think anyone can really come up with an application and develop an app from the ground, even if they have no experience. And I'd just say creating an app overall was a really rewarding experience, and I hope my journey inspires you to pursue your own projects. I'm going to be building in public. Please subscribe, because I will show you all my development process as I go forward. I'm going to do vlogs about me coding, how I develop new features. If you want to download my app, IdeaVault, I really recommend it. You don't need it. You could use Apple Notes. I believe that it's a really good way to write down that list of ideas in the beginning when you're trying to figure out what idea to pursue, keep them all there and have them stored, and then go through and check the social media websites to see if these are problems that other people have as well. So if you want to try it out, the link will be in the description. Otherwise, I hope this really inspired you to pursue your own projects. I learned a lot from other developers building in public on YouTube, and so I'm trying to contribute back to the community and do the same thing myself. And just stick with it and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. And comment down below if you went through a similar process, or if you're planning on building your own app and what it's about. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can see the app development process that I'm going through, and hopefully it can inspire you to make your own applications as well.